All around us, harmful messages undermine our children's faith and threaten their virtues, values, and morals. Negative messages are pushed on them through movies, television, online, social media, and sometimes even in the books they read. As parents, we have a responsibility to instill the faith and to forge strong virtues, values, and morals in our children. And one of the best ways to do this is by reading great children's literature with them. Hi, my name is Margaret Bereit. I'm a Catholic wife, mother, and lifelong educator. I've found children's literature to be vital at bolstering the faith and instilling virtues, values, and morals in our children. The books we read now to our small children can and will impact them for their entire lives. For example, my daughter, Sister Gloria Christie, recently told me how much she loved the book Roxaboxen. She's now reading that book with groups of children that the Dominicans are serving in the Nashville community this summer, and she's creating activities for the children based on this delightful book. My son Patrick said that one of his favorite books is Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati, Journey to the Summit. He was inspired by Pier Giorgio Frassati's willingness to serve others. It made him want to serve others, and it created a desire in him to read about books about the saints. Great children's literature becomes a part of you like nothing else can. So today, I'm going to share several wonderful children's books with you, and I'll show you how to use them to build the faith and instill virtues, values, and morals. And I'll share ideas of some activities that you can do with your children after reading these books. Homeschooling is an exciting adventure, and great children's literature is a huge part of that. So let's get started. The first book that I'd like to recommend today is called Quick as a Cricket. So this is written by Audrey Wood and illustrated by Dawn Wood. This is an absolutely gorgeous, fun picture book. This is a really great book for children ages 3 through 6 or maybe even 7. And there's so many different things that you can do with this book. So the illustrations just themselves are fabulous, and they're big and bright and bold, and there's animals on each page. Small children love animals. There's also so many great teaching tools in this book. For example, the whole book is structured in one way, using similes. So that is making a comparison using the word like or as, and in this case, using the word as. So it says, I'm as shy as a shrimp. I'm as tame as a poodle. I'm as wild as a chimp, and so on. The other thing that this wonderful book does is it teaches opposites. So it says, I'm as quick as a cricket, and then I'm as slow as a snail. And all through the book, it's comparing using opposites. So what a wonderful way to teach small children opposites. This is a very important skill for them to learn. Another teaching technique you can use is that of teaching adjectives to small children. Adjectives are describing words, and each of these pages, it's describing the animal as well as how the little boy, is feeling. So that's another important skill that children need to learn, because then when they read this kind of language, then they'll use adjectives in their own writing as they begin to write themselves. Then another thing I love about this book is that the little boy is saying, sometimes he's happy and sometimes he's sad. And that is really beautiful because it just shows us that, it's the human experience, right? Sometimes we are loud and sometimes we are quiet. quiet. Sometimes we are happy and sometimes we are sad. It's just having those feelings and those characteristics of being a human the way that God made us. So that's another thing I really love about this book. Please enjoy it and read it with enthusiasm and be excited with your child with this book. The next book we're going to look at is called Miss Rumpus, written and illustrated by Barbara Cooney. This is one of my very, very favorite books in the whole wide world. At the very beginning of this book, and please point this out to your small children, she dedicates this to Saint Nicholas. I really love that. And of course, there's a picture she's painted of Saint Nicholas right there on the first page. This book is for small children. It's going to be for children ages maybe 5 or 6, maybe 6 through 10. And this is a story of a little girl named Alice, and she loves her grandfather and admires him so much. And so one day she says to him, when I grow up, I'm going to travel just like you've traveled all over and had all these adventures, and I'm going to live by the sea. And he tells little Alice, he said, well, that's all good and well, but there's a third thing you must do. You must do something to make the world beautiful. And so Alice grows up, and she does travel to all these faraway places and has these amazing adventures in deserts and on mountains and in islands. And then she does go and live by the sea. But as she's getting a little bit older, she says, I have to do the third thing my grandfather said. I must make the world more beautiful. And how am I going to do that? Alice loves, or now she's called Miss Rumpus as she's gotten older, Miss Rumpus. Miss Rumpus loves lupines, and she loves planting seeds. So she gets this idea that she is going to plant lupines all over the countryside. And so that's what she does. She plants these seeds, and they come up, and they're gorgeous blue flowers. The paintings in here are beautiful, beautiful. And there's lupines all over the countryside. And so then she has her sweet little niece comes, and she's older now. Her little niece comes with all her little friends, these children, and they're asking her about her adventures. She's sharing about her adventures and living by the sea, but then she tells them, you must do something to make the world beautiful. And that's how this story ends. And this is such a great introduction to our children as we're raising them in our faith, to say, okay, that's just like you and me, right? God has given us gifts. He's given us skills and experiences. And now your question that you have to answer is, what am I going to do to make the world more beautiful with what God has given me? How can I give back to Him and to serve Him and to serve His community? So this is the questions I posed to my children when I was homeschooling. And then we talked about it, and they talked about, I helped them to, give them some ideas based on the talents that they had and the things that they could do. And then I had them write in their journal about this. So they actually answered this question in their journal. So I would highly recommend reading this book, sharing that with your children. It is beautiful. You will love it. You will cry and enjoy. The next book I'd love to share today is called Thunder Cake by Patricia Polacco. This is another Bereit family favorite. So Thunder Cake it's so pretty. It is a story about overcoming fears. And in particular, this sweet girl who actually is Patricia Polacco, and she was a little girl. It's autobiographical. She learns with the help of her babushka, her Russian-Ukrainian grandmother, she learns to overcome the fear of thunderstorms. So this story takes place in Michigan on Babushka's farm, and the thunderstorm is coming their way. And so the sweet little girl is underneath her bed, and she's so scared. And her grandmother coaxes her out of her bed and says, come on, we're going to make thunder cake, but we have to go get all the ingredients. So she takes her granddaughter, and they go, and the granddaughter gets eggs from old Nellie Peck hen and milk from Kit Cow, and they go all through the farm, and they collect the dry ingredients and all the ingredients they need, including the secret ingredient. And then as they're doing this, the storm is getting closer and closer. And I love the vocabulary Patricia Polacco uses. Really build that up when you're reading the story, like the boom of the thunder and the roar. And you can really get into this book and make it come alive for your children. But all through that, the storm's getting closer, and they get the ingredients, and they come in the house, they make the thunder cake, and just as they're sitting down to eat the thunder cake, the thunderstorm then is right above them, but they are safe in the house eating their cake. And the little girl tells her babushka, I was afraid. And she's like, no, from where I stand, you were brave. You went out and you got the eggs and the milk and everything you needed. And you overcame your fear. And how amazing is that? What a great lesson for all of us, right? Because we all know that fear is a very powerful motivator. And we all know that our church and our Father in heaven, Christ, teaches us not to be afraid, not to be afraid. So how do we overcome that fear? This is a great lesson you can talk to your kids about after you read this, right? You overcome that fear by God's grace, and you overcome that fear by action, by taking action. And that's called being courageous. That is bravery. That is persistence. It's beautiful. And so also in this book that I love is that there are icons all through this book. So these are images of Christ, and there's another one of Mary. And I point, as we're reading, I point out the icons to our children. Now, another thing that is so great about this book is at the very end, Patricia Polacco has the recipe for thunder cake, her grandmother's recipe. So what we did is we made the cake. We made the thunder cake as a family. And I remember one year, we were reading this. We always would read it in the spring, when the thunderstorms are really coming around, like April, May. And one year, it worked out perfectly. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thunderstorm was actually coming our way. And we made a thunder cake. We turned off all the lights in the house. We got a flashlight. And we sat down and we read the book together with the lights out, with the flashlight. And my kids loved that. And then we, of course, ate our thunder cake. So this is so fun, and so many good things to learn in this book. It's also filled with rich vocabulary for your first or second grader, like sultry and scurried. It's very rich vocabulary. And I also want to share with you that when our daughter, Sister Glory Christie, was in college, she called me one day and asked me if I could send this recipe to her in college because she wanted to make thunder cake with her roommates. So that was such a blessing for me. It just made me smile so big. So please do not miss this book. Your kids will love it. The next book that I'd like to share with you is called The Lady of Guadalupe by Tommy DePaula. This is a wonderful book to read to your children during Advent. What a great liturgical season, right? So many incredible books to be read during Advent. So this is the first one of those books I want to share with you. This is beautifully illustrated and written by Tommy DePaula, and it tells the story of Our Lady of Guadalupe as she appeared to Juan Diego so many years ago in Tepeyac, on Tepeyac Hill in Mexico. I love this story because it also has a beautiful pro-life theme. It is about trust and faith and hope and love, and you don't want to miss this book. So when she appears to Juan Diego on Tepeyac Hill, Our Lady is dressed as an Aztec princess. And of course, Juan Diego, being from Aztec descent, he would recognize that and know that. But the other thing that he would know also is that she was pregnant. She is wearing a bow around her waist, and that represented that she was a princess who was with child. So isn't that so glorious? I love it. So please read this beautiful book about our faith, about Our Lady, and know that your children are going to fall in love with this book. So one thing that we do to really celebrate her feast day on December 12th is we have a big fiesta. And we would do this every year for many, many years. We would invite friends over. We had Mexican food, we would sing Marian hymns, and we would pray a prayer asking for Our Lady Guadalupe's intercessions for our family and for our country. And we would just have fellowship together as families and honoring Our Lady Guadalupe on her beautiful day. So that's just a really fun activity that you can share with your family and friends to celebrate her. And also, please do read this beautiful book. The next book I want to share with you is another family favorite. I think I've been saying that a lot, but I can't help it. They're all so good. So this is called The Race of the Birkbeiners, and it's written by Lisa Lunge Larson and illustrated by Mary Azarian. This book is so incredible. This book is a true story. So that is so cool. So make sure to emphasize that to your children. This is truth, and this is history that happened in Norway. This is a great book to read during Advent. Another one of those Advent books you have to add to your list and read during that time. The story begins on Christmas Eve in the year 1206, and it takes place in the country of Norway. So in Norway at that time, there was a king, and this king died, and he had a baby. And so the baby was then supposed to be the king. But there was a group of people in the land who did not want him to be king. Actually, they wanted to kill the baby. And so the queen mother had to flee from her home with this little baby. And along with her was this wonderful Dominican priest. We love Dominicans in our family. So this wonderful Dominican priest went with her to find help to get the baby to a different area of Norway. So they went to this wonderful group of people on Christmas Eve who said, yes, we will help you. So here they are sacrificing their own comfort, their own lives, really, right? For this baby. So what they do is, and they're called the Birkbeiners because they would wrap birch tree on their legs as armor. They were poor. They were peasants, but they were very, very good skiers. And this is very important in Norway. So what they did is these two men, they put on their birch leggings. That's what they're called, birch leggings. They put them on, and they took the baby, and they're skiing across Norway in the dead of winter. And at first, the queen and the Dominican priest go with them, but then they encountered this huge snowstorm. So then the two Birkbeiners ask the queen, can you please give us the baby? We will be able to get him to safety sooner. So she has this hard decision to make. So she gives them a necklace that it's a cross and puts it in with the baby's wrappings. And she makes that decision to trust in them, trust in God, that her baby is going to be safe. So sure enough, they're skiing in this horrible snowstorm. It's so crazy snow, they can't even see. But then they find this little barn, and they're safe for a little few hours. And they feed the baby snow. The baby's starving. And they actually take snow, and as it's melting, they're feeding the baby. And that's actually true. That really did happen. So later, they meet up with the Dominican priest and the queen mother again, and they're able to ski up north to the village where the baby is safe. Now, there's another whole part of the story I'm not going to share with you because it's so beautiful and I don't want to spoil it. You have to read it. But this is the great point. The baby becomes the king of Norway. He is the greatest king of the Middle Ages in Norwegian history, and that specific time he reigned is called the Golden Age of Norway. This story is so incredible. There is a wonderful, of course, pro-life message in here. These people are risking everything in the face of great evil. They are doing the courageous, right thing. And isn't that a lesson for us in this crazy time that we live in? Isn't that a lesson for your children and for you, for all of us, right? To be brave, to do the right thing, even in the face of great evil. And that's what they do. In fact, this story had such an impact on their country and on the Norwegian people that to this day, every year, there is a race held in the state of Wisconsin and in Norway called the Birkebeiners. The Birkebeiners. Isn't that amazing? So yes, and it's a grueling cross-country skiing race. So can you imagine? I mean, I just think that's so cool. So that's another thing you can do with your children. Have them research that race that takes place every year. Have them research the king. His name is King Haakon. Have them research the Golden Age of Norway. There's a lot of information out there about this time period, and it's just all so fascinating. I can't wait for you to share this book with your children. I promise you they will love it. So now for our final book of the day, I want to introduce this amazing, beautiful story. This is called The Door in the Wall, and it's by Margaret Bereit. It won the 1950 Newbery Award book. It is such a great book for especially boys ages 10 through 14, but girls love it too. Our daughter loved it. And it is about a boy named Robin living in the 1300s in England. During that time in England, the bubonic plague is spreading all over England, all over Europe, really. And so during this time, Robin wants to be a knight because he wants to defend his country, right? But he is struck with an illness, and through that illness, he loses the use of his legs. So everything in this young boy's life changes. But a monk named Brother Luke finds him, and he takes him into St. Mark's Hospice, and he is cared for there. And Brother Luke teaches him so much about patience and strength and perseverance and doing what's right in this moment and finding what it is you're called to do now that this has happened, right? So this is a book about adversity striking a young boy and his dream of what it means to be a knight being shattered. But then it's also a book of hope and faith and trust in God, because young Robin learns that when a wall is put in front of you, there's always a door that is open. Brother Luke teaches him this lesson so well. And Robin does that. He goes through that door. He learns to use his arms and be a really good swimmer. He learns wood carving, and everything he's learning is going to come to this great point where I won't share this with you, but it's going to be so good at the end, because he becomes the hero of this book in a very unexpected way, right? So this book teaches us about how sometimes in life we think that things are going to be one way, but tragedy and adversity does happen. But that's not the end of the story, that God has a different plan and that we can learn skills and He will use what we have in a different way, just maybe not the right way we thought it was going to be. This is such a powerful lesson and powerful book. And you can do a lot with this book. Use it as a part of your medieval unit that you're doing with your middle schoolers, learning about the Middle Ages. Research the Catholic Church in England during this time. The Catholic Church has a huge part to play in this book, as you will see. I love the vocabulary, the liturgical vocabulary in this book. But you can research all these things. You can eat some medieval food. Find some recipes for medieval food. Food is always a good thing. So just really enjoy this book with your children. I highly suggest reading this book with your children or listening to it. You could do that as well. But it really is a very powerful story, and I know you're going to love it. Don't miss this book. I hope these examples help. I am so excited for you as you read great children's literature to and with your children. Make great children's literature an integral part of your family's homeschooling journey. Choose one of these books I've shared with you today and read it with your children. Read with passion, joy, and intrigue. Make the story come alive for your children. When you are excited, they will be as well. If you'd like a list of many of my other favorite books for children, visit margaretbereit.com/books. That's margaretbereit.com/books. On that page, you can download my recommendations for free. It's my gift to you as a way of sharing my love of great children's literature. I hope you fall in love or fall more deeply in love with great children's literature and use it to instill the faith and forge strong virtues, values, and morals in your children. God bless you.